Jim and I were living in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. He was just finishing his residency at North Carolina Memorial Hospital. And the doctors had been offered a trip to New York City. A 3-night stay for no cost to them at the hotel right on Broadway. And could bring, of course, their wife was included, and there'd be a dinner. And then they would have to go out and look at the place where they made the medicines, and it was a pharmaceutical sponsored trip. But we'd have 3 days, and it was the World's Fair in 1964. It was the World's Fair. We were going to go to New York, my first time in New York City. And I would have a chance to visit my cousin. My cousin lived in New York. Now, she and I had different lives. I was married to a penniless doctor in North Carolina, and she was married to a very nice man, and they were living in an apartment on Park Avenue. So I knew that our lives were going to be totally different, and I wanted to look my best, to put on a big, good, sophisticated front for the first time I ever went to New York. You know, the country mouse goes to the city to see the city mouse. And I went to a local beauty shop in Chapel Hill, and I don't know why I did this, but I went in and I said I wanted to have a Beehive hairdo. Now, do you remember what they were? The Beehive hairdo, once it was really done, you walked out of there and you looked like you were walking around wearing one of those steel helmets on your head permanently. And it was sprayed so tight that it wouldn't move. It didn't matter if you slept on it or not because it was sort of cemented together. Permanent hairdo. I thought I looked kind of good. Jim was stunned. He was very surprised when I came in wearing this new outer space look. And it was comfortable on the bus going up. We went up with a group and we went into the hotel, and I immediately called my cousin to let her know I was in town. Come over for dinner. We'll have supper here at the apartment tonight. So Jim and I went over to see her. She didn't say anything about my hairdo. I should have known. I should have been warned, but I was just too excited and not very aware, anyway, of what the styles were in New York City. This was New York City. So the first thing she said after we'd visited for a little while was, let's have a great day tomorrow. I've got the best thing. I know I can get an appointment. I'm going to treat you to the most special thing you've ever had, Eloise. You are going to love it. Well, what could that be? Let's go to Elizabeth Arden's. We'll have a morning at Elizabeth Arden's, and it will be my treat. I was curious. I knew the name Elizabeth Arden's. I knew that it spoke of glamour and sophistication. And I said, but I've just had my hair done. She said, oh, no, just don't worry about that. He'll fix it for you. And the next morning, Sandra and I had set up a whole day we would spend together. Elizabeth Arden's, a little museuming, and then we would meet Jim, and her husband would join us, and we would all go out to dinner, and then we would go to the theater to see the original Barefoot in the Park with Robert Redford and Elizabeth Ashley. It was going to be a huge day. Well, it started off at Elizabeth Arden's, and we went up and everything was pink and beautiful, mirrors all over, glamorous women on all sides. And the beauty operator took one look at my hair, and he sort of paled, shaking. And he picked up some scissors, and I said, what are you going to do? I've just had this fixed. And he said, but I'm going to fix it better for you. And he started taking it apart and prying the hairs across and everything. And he cut it. He cut my Beehive hairdo right off my head. And he straightened it out, he untangled it, he washed it, he set it, he did a special little cutting, no perms, just cutting. And he set it, and I sat under a small dryer just for a little bit. And do you know what happened? When he combed it out and he brushed it, I looked in the mirror and I couldn't believe my eyes. I was sitting in that chair looking in the mirror, and I was looking back at myself wearing a Sophia Loren Poodle Cut. And it looked wonderful on me. When I met Jim that night for dinner, he liked it. And I loved that he liked it. And from then on, if ever I was in New York City, the first thing I did was to call ahead and make sure I had an appointment at Elizabeth Arden's to have my hair done. And I never told them what to do. I just waited to see what would happen.